Hi there, I'm Michael Chane, and you know me as Hoist, Powerglide, and Red Alert on the original Transformers.
You're listening to In Conversation with Amber the Fangirl. Oh, you're listening to In Conversation with Amber the Fangirl. You're listening to In Conversation with Amber the Fangirl. But I think they're talking about me.
Hi guys, Amber here. Welcome back to In Conversation with ATF. Now, this is a very special episode as this is my first audio interview. So with this one, you can listen to it without even watching it. So if you're doing a job, you could listen to it in the background. If you're doing something like driving or you're just occupied and you just want someone to listen to, well, this is the perfect interview for you. Today, my first ever audio interview guest is a voice actor and musician. He's best known for voicing Powerglide, Hoist, Raoul, and Red Alert, and a few other characters in the G1 Transformers cartoon. He's also written for cartoons like She-Ra, Princess of Power, It's Punky Brewster. Was that the live-action Punky Brewster? I need to check that.
No, we did the animated Punky Brewster.
Ah, yes. It's Punky Brewster, that one, yes. Yes, of course.
And don't forget Rambo.
And Rambo as well, indeed, yes. And what else is there? And Dink the Little Dinosaur and Police Academy, the animated series as well. And I believe you're a musician too?
Yes, I've been in music and the recording industry for 100 years.
Wow, my guest is Michael Chane. Welcome.
That's me, and hello there, Amber.
Hello, Michael. I'm not sure which nickname you prefer.
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm easy.
I prefer Michael. It's more. Well, I know it's a casual conversation, not an interview.
It's very casual. That's why it's just audio, because I'm not wearing any clothes. So.
Oh dear. Oh man. Well, it's fun because with audio you can just be wherever you want. You could be in bed recording an episode.
I can be whatever I want to be.
Yeah,
I'm just a voice. I actually don't exist. You just hear me from time to time.
You're just an AI, one of those AI generated voices.
I'm generated.
Oh man, yeah, that's amazing. Well, Mike. I'll stick to Mike. But I'm so used to calling you Michael. But Mike, I'll try and call you Mike.
Mike is fine. Mike is fine. Just so long as people call me, I'm happy.
Okay, sweet. So, Mike, I'd like to obviously get started by asking you, which career did you enter first? Did you enter voiceover work first? Did you enter your music career first? Did you enter your writing work first? Just tell me how you got started in the business.
Well, my parents were in the business. My mother was a writer. My father was a writer. So I grew up in the industry. And let me see, my first experience was singing.
Oh.
That was singing. When I was a little kid, I sang with Sinatra on a TV show. And then I did some acting. And even in my acting when I was a kid, I did some voiceover work. I played June Allison's son on the June Allison show one time. That was my first voiceover. And then I had a music career. I was in a group called The Knack 1,000 years ago, and we recorded and toured and did all of that. And I wrote songs for other artists as well as myself. And when I got back into television, writing television shows, I started doing a lot of active voiceover work.
I see. Wow. Yeah, because you've had quite a career. I mean, I know you haven't done a lot of voiceover. I believe what you're mainly known for is the G1 Transformers cartoon.
Well, I did Transformers. I did a lot of voices on Fat Albert. I did voices on Rambo. I was the voice of the Chicken McNuggets for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
On all those television commercials. I did Ford and Budweiser and hundreds of advertisements and things like that until I got too busy as a writer to go out on interviews anymore, and I just spent most of my time sitting in the studio writing.
Ah, right, I see. Yeah, well, yeah, wow, yeah, definitely. And Well, of course, a lot of people remember the episode, The Girl Who Loved Powerglide, especially. I have it on VHS. It was that and another episode, I can't remember which one it is, but I think that is the one when people name, like, an episode, it's always, oh yeah, I remember The Girl Who Loved Powerglide.
Everybody remembers that episode with Powerglide.
Oh, wow! And, could I hear a bit of Hoist as well?
Yeah, there's just a touch of it. It came out of a commercial I did for hefty bags. Yeah, heaviest bags you got. All of the characters on Transformers. We were a bunch of nutcases all put in a room with Wally Burr doing voiceovers. It was a ton of fun when we did that show.
Oh, that's lovely. And I believe Behind the Voice Actors actually has a few of your voiceover clips. I'm gonna play them. I'm not sure how they'll sound on your end, but hopefully they'll sound just fine. But here they are. Here's Red Alert.
Are you boys okay?
Red Alert, I didn't see ya.
And I couldn't see you. No wonder. You don't have reflectors. They tell drivers where you are.
Did you hear that?
Yes, that sounds like Hoist.
It said it was Red Alert. Well, unless it's been mislabeled on Behind the Voice Actors. I mean, my recording software didn't even pick it up, so I just have to insert a clip somewhere.
My terribly British one was Hoist. He was the British tow truck.
Oh, right, I see. And I believe you briefly voiced Skids as well for one episode before.
Skids was one of those weird ones. Yeah, I did that, and I think Dan Gilvezan.
Yeah.
Did one of them too.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, we both did Skids.
Yeah, you voiced Skids in the episode Quest for Survival, then Dan did it in Triple Takeover.
Yeah, we bounced around a lot. The wonderful thing about voice people is they can do a zillion different voices.
Yeah, definitely.
So we all did that. My main characters though were Hoist, Red Alert, and Powerglide.
Wow. So how did you get cast on Transformers then?
I had a comedy group called Mice. It was an improv comedy group, and we performed all over, and there were a lot of guys from different shows in that group. I basically coached it and ran it. And Wally's wife came down one time, and we became friends. And I think that's how I got that, because it had to be kind of kept a secret for a while, because at the time I was writing for the rival studio. I was with Ruby Spears, and at that time, God, I can't remember which show I was writing. It was probably Rambo at the time, and they were worried that I would know too much about other shows and things like that. So we kind of kept it low key.
And yeah, I've just had a look at Rambo, and it does have a few friends I've had on my show. Neil Ross was my first guest. Who else is there? Peter and Frank were in it. Wow. Yeah, and Mona Marshall as well. Yeah, but with Peter and Frank, they're like, I don't know how to describe it, but they're like the ones, well, they're Optimus Prime and Megatron, so I've got to ask, what was it like working with them, real quick, before you move back onto the story of how you got into Transformers?
Like I said, it was just one big party. When you get a bunch of voiceover people, the wonderful thing about doing voiceovers is nobody feels competitive, because everybody figures that any voice they can do, somebody else in the room can do too. So it's one of those areas where it's just like a bunch of friends getting together and horsing around. And working with all of the guys that I worked with was terrific. It was a ton of fun. I got to meet a lot of actors I wouldn't have met otherwise. And some of the people you meet, you end up working with on other shows and things and commercials.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get back to the story. I'm super sorry for interrupting about Peter and Frank. You were up to the point where you said you wrote for Rambo, if I'm not correct.
I was the head writer on that. I put the show together. I was the guy who hired all the other writers and wrote all the important episodes, the pivotal episodes, and rewrote everybody's stuff. So that was my show, the entire series.
Ah, I see. Wow. Yeah. So from there, how did you get into Transformers? Were you found? I'm presuming you were probably found by Wally Burr. Am I right or am I not right?
Yeah, Wally.
Oh.
It was Wally. Wally's girlfriend met me, and then we met. And we were hanging around, and he heard me do all these voices, and said, "Hey, would you like to do Transformers?" And I said, "Sure."
Wow.
Why not?
That is so cool. That is just like it's just like what do I call it? It's like a stroke of luck, but like a golden opportunity. I don't know why I have the term stuck in the back of my head, but I just simply can't remember it at this moment in time.
It was a wild and wacky time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wow. You must have had such an amazing time. I'm not sure. Did you do the Transformers movie?
No, I didn't. I wasn't doing voiceovers at that particular time. I was still writing. As a matter of fact, while they were doing the Transformers movie, I was writing an entire soap opera by myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did a crazy thing with George Hamilton, did a thing called The Guilt. And I got railroaded into doing that show. I ended up writing, I think it was something like 120 episodes of it.
Wow. That is a lot.
That was a lot of work. And after that, I said, that's it, I'm done. And then I went back into music, and I've been back in music since then.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think you have done a few conventions. I think you did BotCon 2005, I think.
Yeah, I've done a couple of the Transformer things. That was fun. As a matter of fact, the first one that I did in Texas, I was busy in Nashville at the time recording one of my CDs, and they flew me out. I took 2 days off of recording. They flew me out to what was it, Dallas, I think is where it was. They flew me out to Dallas to do the convention, and that was kind of fun.
Oh, that sounds like you had a really good time. Sorry, it sounds like a
Wally
really good time.
was there, so Wally and I did lectures on the Transformers, which was a lot of fun, and some of the other guys I worked with were there too. So
Michael, Brian, and Paul Dobson, they're all brothers. They worked on Armada, Energon, Cybertron, and the Beast Machine series, and also Colton Deering, who is a child actor who actually appeared in the Transformers Cybertron toy commercials. So they were at the event alongside you and Wally. I was gonna say, what was it like meeting Wally at the event after like? I don't want to say all these years because I'm not sure.
I hadn't seen him for literally years.
Ah, right, I see.
We did the thing in the 80s, and I think the first one was in the 90s, late 90s was the Dallas one. And I've been, like I said, I've been totally back in music, and I had lost track of all that, and it was great to see Wally again.
I've just had a look. It was held on the 21st of September 2005. I would have only been 1 year old. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
You know, people who do voiceovers, that's the other great thing about voiceovers. You never age. So you get to play all sorts of things. I did a lot of, looping and things in movies and dubbing characters and things in films. And you can be anything. And you don't have to get dressed, and you don't have to memorize a script. So what could be more fun than that? Just show up and do it.
There's literally nothing more fun than doing voiceover. I can agree as a voice actress myself.
Yeah, and it's crazy. You get to work with some fun people. I did one, I can't even remember what the commercial was, but it was me and Harvey Korman sitting in a room telling jokes for an hour and a half with each other, horsing around before we actually did the voiceover. And it was just a ton of fun working with Harvey.
Oh, that's really cool. Wow. Yeah, that must have been really fun for you. Like, just remind me what's Harvey done again? Like, I've heard his name, but I can't remember.
One of the stars of the Carol Burnett show. He did Blazing Saddles, a zillion things you've seen him in.
Oh yeah, I know him now. He did a lot of things with Tim Conway, and he's done a lot of films with Mel Brooks. Wow.
Absolutely, one of the three.
Oh wow, yeah, he has. Wow, I didn't realize like the cartoons he'd been in. Like he was in Garfield and Friends. He was in Dumb and Dumber the Animated Series, Wild Thornberrys. He was in the live-action Flintstones, the second movie. Wow, I didn't realize like the cartoons. I knew he had obviously done a lot of things with Tim Conaway, but like I didn't realize.
There's a lot of people that you don't realize, like Lorenzo Music. Lorenzo was the main writer on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and just as a lark, they gave him a part playing
Carlton the Doorman,
like the handyman, and you'd only hear his voice.
That was a different show. I'm so sorry.
And he was one of the top writers in Hollywood, and he ended up doing voiceovers.
Oh, well,
Carlton. There was another guy named Stanley Ralph Ross who wrote zillions of television series. And Stanley started doing voiceover stuff, and he was the voice of a bunch of different things.
Ah, can I just Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I blew my wad on that. Just pointing out, there's a lot of guys that ended up doing voiceovers that were doing other things that were either writers or regular actors or whatever.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to apologize for blurting out Carlton. The Doorman. That was not Mary Tyler Moore. That was Rhoda. That was yeah. He was Carlton the Doorman on that show, and then obviously that got an animated spin-off done by Fred Wolf Films.
But he wrote a zillion episodes of all of the things. Lorenzo was one of the top guys in writing.
Oh yeah. Oh, what an Emmy. Yeah, and obviously he was Garfield, and then he was Tummy Gummy and Gummy Bears, and yeah, I just heard he was apparently a private person. He would wear sunglasses if someone took a photo with him or something like that. There are a few photos out there of him like without sunglasses.
It's funny, because people remember you for stuff other than what you do. It's like a friend of mine who was one of the top music directors in the business. Did all the shows back in the days when they used to have musical shows like the Dean Martin show and all of that. And he's best remembered for writing that silly jingle to Gilligan's Island.
Ah, I see. Wow.
And I would be out doing radio interviews about my music, and people would say, "Hey, did you do one of the Transformers?"
Did you do the British tow truck?
Being remembered for stuff other than what you did.
Well, I gotta ask, what's the weirdest thing you've been remembered for?
I think more people know me, well, now for Transformers than for a lot of the other stuff. Because nobody knew who did the McDonald's commercials or the other commercials I did. It was just a voice. But Transformers, they could actually connect with a character.
I was gonna say, to be fair, I didn't even realize you'd done the McNuggets until you told me, because I looked online and it says your only roles are Transformers.
And Frank Welker.
Ah, Frank! I love Frank. Here's my...
Oh, I love Frank. Frank does, every sound effect and goofy voice on the planet. And Hal Smith was the guy who played the drunk on the Andy Griffith Show, and he was also a regular on the Jack Benny Show.
Yes!
He was a very talented guy.
Yes, Hal. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Hal's another really good actor that who we lost too soon. I can't remember how old was he. I think he was in like his 70s. I think. If you hear me typing, it's just me.
No, Hal's a lot older than I was. A lot older than I was.
Oh, he was like 77.
On the Jack Benny Show.
Oh, he was 77 when he passed away. Okay. Well. Oh man. Is that one?
Yeah, we all have a shop life.
Ah, right. Yeah, definitely.
You get that expiration date written on you, and then you're gone. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. By any chance, did you work with the voice actor Will Ryan?
I'm terrible with names, other than people that I've spent a lot of time with, but I'm sure I did. When I was doing a lot of voice work, it was in the 80s. Everybody knew you worked with everybody on something. Mm-hmm. If not, you sat in a studio with them. It was weird. It's like I ended up doing voiceovers with people that I knew from my rock and roll days in the 60s.
Ah, right, I see.
Like Casey Kasem used to do the local concerts in L.A. When they'd have a concert and Casey would host it. And he hosted a bunch of concerts with my band, The Knack, when we were playing way back then. And years later, once again, Casey and I worked together on Transformers.
Yeah, he was Cliff Jumper in Blue Streak, and he was also known for doing the American Top 40 as well.
Yes. Casey was a great guy.
I bet he was, honestly. Like, I know him as Shaggy.
Actually, to be quite honest with you, all of the voiceover people were wonderful people. Everybody I ever worked with in voiceover were just delightful people.
Oh,
I can't say that for the other careers I've had, but in voiceover, they're all pretty wonderful guys.
Oh, that's a really nice
As
thing
I'm
to
sure you
say.
know from interviewing a bunch of them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think, like, Frank, I'm sorry, I always have to gush about Frank because, like, people say he was, like, the modern day Mel Blanc. So, yeah,
Yeah, Mel was wonderful and did a bunch of voices and stuff, but Welker was, he's from another planet. He was like, there was another guy in voiceover that a lot of people didn't know was a voiceover. They knew him as an actor. It was a guy named Larry Storch, and Larry was on I can't remember the name of the show. It was in the 60s. Oh, F Troop. He was on F Troop, and Larry Storch could do an impression of just about any actor under the sun. He had a list of people he could do, and it was like 150 people long. And he could do the most obscure voices from movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s, and he was incredible. And Welker was the same way with different sounds. Welker could do anything. It was a ton of fun working with Frank.
Well, that's really good to hear because I'm meeting him in person this October, and I've met him virtually a few times, and I did meet him before the pandemic. I've only met Peter once virtually. He was at the same convention I met Frank at, but I didn't have time to go meet him. But yeah, Frank's like, I'm now happy to consider him as a friend, I guess. But honestly, it just feels so. Apparently I've warmed my way into his heart. So
That's good.
that was really flattering.
Because he's a good guy to have for a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically can do anything. Any voiceover you give him, why even bother to audition? Just have him do it. Tell him what you want, and he'll do it.
Yeah, definitely. And back to Larry Storch. I remember him as Phineas J. Whoopi on Tennessee Tuxedo.
Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, he did some voices for me, I think, on Rambo and some of the other stuff. But he was a very, very talented guy.
Ah, right, I see. Yeah, because Tennessee Tuxedo was made by Total Television. No. Yeah, it was made by Total Television, yeah. The show itself was animated by Gamma Productions of Mexico, the same people responsible for animating the original Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon. Do you remember that?
Of course I do. I remember Rocky and Bullwinkle very well.
Wonderful.
My mother was involved in that show and a bunch of others.
Really?
Yeah, my mother did the classic animation. She one of the first things she did was called Crusader Rabbit.
Oh, yes! Yes!
Well, she wrote that. She wrote a lot of the shows for that. They did a feature film for Crusader Rabbit, and she wrote that. And she also did Mr. Magoo. She wrote the longest running musical in television, which is Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's a really fun fact.
And that was Bob Merrill and Julie Stein did the music, and they were the guys that did Funny Girl and Gypsy and Carnival and a bunch of other musicals.
That is so cool, Mike. That's blown my mind. Of course, you probably remember June Foray and Bill Scott as Rocky and Bullwinkle. Bill Scott's a personal hero of mine. Did you?
I worked with June.
Oh, did you?
Yes, well, like I said, you work with everybody in voiceover. Yeah, I got to work with June one time. That was fun.
Oh, wow. I presume you didn't get to meet Bill then.
I can't remember if I did or not. Because sometimes you're talking to somebody or working with someone and you don't even know they did a voice that was one of your favorite voices or was a character on a show that you missed.
Wow, because I did a documentary on Bill Scott during the first lockdown, And I did speak to a lot of people. I spoke to... Who did I speak to from the G1 series? I spoke to Frank Welker. I spoke to Corey Burton. I'm pretty sure you remember him. Who else did I speak to from the G1 cartoon? I think... I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think those are the two names that stand out, really, when I think of my documentary.
Yeah, some of them were gone by the time you started doing it. One of the guys on Transformers was the guy who played Mud on Star Trek.
Oh, is that who I'm thinking of? I could be wrong. I'm probably just going to say it off the top of my tongue. Roger C. Carmel?
Yes. He was a ton of fun to work with.
Yeah, Roger C. Carmel. Yes. Sorry, but I just lost my train of thought. Yes, I know he was Cyclonus.
I can't even remember who he played, but it was just great sitting in the room joking around with him.
Wow. Yeah, I remember Corey telling me a story about Roger C. Carmel during a Gummy Bears session. I can't really remember the story as he told me that about 2 years ago, but it was something to do with how, like, I think his health was deteriorating at that time, and shortly after that he passed away. So I suppose it wasn't really, like, a happy story in a way.
Yes, he died young, but he was a great guy.
Yeah, well, Bill Scott did as well. I think he was only about 65. He had a heart attack.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that happens. You know, you lose a lot of your friends and coworkers along the way.
As Frank Sinatra says, "That's life. That's
Yeah,
life."
that's life. That's death.
Yeah.
Do some people say.
Yeah. On to a happier subject now. So writing for cartoons. Let's go back to your writing career. Obviously you've written for the cartoon Punky Brewster. Frank Welker's in it. Sorry.
Yeah, I wrote the pilot episode of that and a couple of the other episodes.
Wow.
I was a pilot writer for the pilot is the first episode, the one that you sell to network, and I wrote a lot of the pilots. I wrote Rambo pilot, I wrote the Chuck Norris pilot, I wrote the Punky Brewster pilot, the Police Academy.
So I presume you'd previously watched the live-action Punky Brewster series before writing for the animated spin-off.
Oh, well, it was kind of even more bizarre than that. In my early rock days, one of my friends had a house at Malibu at the beach, and I was at the house one day. It was Burgess Meredith's old house, and I was at the thing, and this hippie couple came in, and they had this kid, and that was Punky Brewster.
Soleil Moon Frye. Wow.
Yeah, she was a baby, so I held her when she was a baby.
Oh.
And years later, I ended up writing Punky Brewster. It's weird how things travel around in circles.
So wait, you knew this couple? You rented like a beach house to them? Sorry,
No, a friend of mine had a house at the beach, and some friends of his came by, and that was Soleil's parents.
Oh,
and
right, I
she
see.
was a baby at the time.
Oh, that's really sweet. It'd be really cool to ask her if they recorded It's Punky Brewster like as an ensemble or like alone. Like I don't know if it was like all the Punky Brewster cast members and then just like later or before it would be Frank. But I was like, if Frank was in a recording session with Soleil Moon Frye, I would scream. It was like, oh my gosh, you got to tell me what it was like working with him.
I think Frank was Glomer, wasn't he?
He was Glomer. Yes, he was.
Yes, on Punky Brewster, he was Glomer on that.
Yeah, it's like
the little character. That was kind of a bizarre thing because the animated show had higher ratings than the primetime show.
Oh.
The animated show was very successful. It was #1 in its time slot. And
wow.
Great.
And yeah, because Glomer was created exclusively for the animated show, and part of me thinks that it was created just to add Frank Welker into the show. Like, oh yeah, is there an animated spin-off of a live-action show and you just want an exclusive character? Get Frank Welker to voice it. It's amazing. It's frankly amazing. Yeah, excuse the pun there. So wow, that is some interesting trivia I just found out. That is so cool. Have you seen Soleil since?
No, and as a matter of fact, when I was doing the series, I never mentioned to her that I
Oh, wow!
You know, you just kind of, you're just so busy when you're doing stuff. I was so busy then. I went for, I guess it was about 10 years when I was working for Ruby Spears, where I never had a day off. Because when you're the head writer on a show, there's no holidays.
No.
The stuff has to be done, and animation eats up a lot of time when you're writing that, because you're doing 65 shows. And it's just constant work. So, that was, I became a hermit for 10 years. I spent all my time writing all that stuff, and occasionally sneaking out to do a voiceover until I got too busy to do that anymore.
So
now I find my time very relaxed. All I have to do is go to Nashville every so often and record.
Oh, nice.
And every so often I'll sneak out and play, and other than that I sit around the house and play guitar.
Oh, wow. Apologies for interrupting. I said so, and then I kind of talked over. I just wanted to say apologies for that, because that kind of came across as rude for me to interrupt you.
Oh, you didn't interrupt me.
Yeah, it's more.
I can't carry a train of thought. My train was derailed long ago, so my train of thought just isn't around.
Oh, bless. I know it may not have been rude, but to me it kind of felt like I was being rude. Like if I start talking and then we kind of interrupt each other. It's part of me, part of my autism, because I have
That's just called conversation.
Yeah, In Conversation with ATF. It's the title, ladies and gentlemen and people and everyone watching my show, including my non-binary friends as well. Yeah. So, Punky Brewster, right? Would you like to see a reboot of the animated show? Because I know they just rebooted the live-action show. Would you like to see the animated show make a comeback? But with Punky Brewster as an adult, and maybe Gloma gets rediscovered. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be fun. Yeah, introduce it to Punky's children.
Stuff comes around, it goes in and out of fashion, and things will disappear for years, and then all of a sudden reappear. And everything old is new again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'd be cool for Punky's kids to be introduced to Gloma, and then they go on the adventures of Gloma. I think that would be really cool. I know, you're not the person I should suggest this to. This should be to whoever owns Punky Brewster. Who owns the rights to Punky Brewster now? Who did the Punky Brewster reboot?
Yeah, well, all of that was Ruby Spears.
That was Peacock. Peacock TV
Ruby
did the
Spears
reboot.
was the company.
Peacock did the reboot.
Stuff. Yeah, before that I wrote for Filmation, which is better left forgotten.
Yeah, She-Ra. Yeah, with Melanie Britt.
The reboot of She-Ra.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
Oh, it was silly. It was my first. See, I was never fond of animation. My mother did a lot of it, along with her live action stuff that she did, and so of course, as luck would have it, I ended up writing animation. And my first gig in writing animation was doing She-Ra over at Filmation.
Ah, that is so. Yeah, cause Melanie Britt was She-Ra, and I think was Skeletor in that show? Alan Oppenheimer? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think Skeletor ran across all the stuff. They did some He-Man stuff. I did a bunch of voices over there, too. I can't even remember what I did. I remember I did Fat Albert.
Oh.
I did a bunch of voices for that, and I think I did some She-Ra voices, and I probably did some He-Man voices while I was over there, too.
Did, by any chance, you meet John Irwin? He-Man.
John Irwin. Like I said, I'm terrible with names. I probably did. Was he working in voiceover at that time?
Yeah, he was the voice of He-Man.
Oh, yes. Of course I met him then.
Wow, I was going to say, because no one knows where he is now. Well, he is still around, because he's in a nursing home, I believe Alan Oppenheimer said recently, but no, there's no photos of him online, he's just vanished.
Well, that happens.
He's like, whoosh.
That happens. People just all of a sudden disappear, or you're working with someone. That's the thing about the entertainment industry. Like, you'll be working with someone on a show and seeing them every single day and stuff like that, and then you're hauled off to some other show or some other studio, and you get involved, and you don't see them for ages.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I gotta ask you, to round off this interview, I'd like to ask you what you do nowadays with your music career.
Yes, it's mostly music now. Mostly music. I think there's, if you're curious, I think there's something like 70 of our recordings on YouTube under Michael Chain Band.
Oh, cool! Wow.
And once again, that's the same type of thing. A bunch of the guys that I ended up recording with in Nashville, some of them were guys that I knew way back in my early knack days from 100 years before.
Wow, that's.
But the guys who play with me, who record on my stuff, it's kind of a who's who group. I think everybody in my band has played on everybody's records from the Beatles to the Rolling Stones. It's an interesting eclectic group of musicians when we get together in Nashville and record. So you might get a kick out of listening to some of that.
Yeah, I will definitely. Yeah, just so many messages I'm receiving at the moment. I do apologise. Just like I'm just constantly booking interviews and stuff. Like there was a time in my life where I was hardly getting any interviews, and now suddenly, oh yeah, can I be on your show? Can I be on your show? People are just messaging me, and it's just like, oh, whoa, the word's getting around. The ATF love is being spread.
Well, it's good. You're keeping this stuff alive because a lot of people don't know who did what in voiceover, and it's great that people are, have an interest in it and to keep this stuff going because there was some wonderful stuff. The people that were working back in the 80s, that was kind of the golden age.
Yeah, definitely. I believe the 80s and the 90s were the best time for animation.
I mean, they're doing great stuff now because now when we were working back then, we had standards and practices and all this stuff we were allowed to do or not allowed to do. So our hands were tied as to what we could do for network stuff when we were writing. And now that there's all the cable stuff, there's so many wonderful animated shows that are just brilliant. Because there's no rules. You can write whatever you want. I mean, the first time I saw Squidbillies, I was going, my God, is this an acid trip?
Wow. Oh, that sounds really sweet. Wow. Michael, what a lovely way to end off this interview. May I ask where people can find you on social media?
Well, every so often I'll sneak out and play a show. A lot of the stuff I did was overseas. I did a lot of military stuff. I was over in Afghanistan and Kosovo, Bosnia, Uzbekistan, Iraq.
Wow.
I did a lot of that stuff. But I live above a winery in Temecula, which is in Southern California, wine country down there. And every so often I'll sneak down to the Somerset Winery and play a couple of songs on a Sunday or a Saturday.
Oh, that's so cool. Where can we find you? Like on social? Do you have a website?
The easiest place to see what I'm doing musically is just on YouTube.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page I have a bunch of Facebook pages, but I have one for the Michael Chain Band for people who want to reach me through Facebook. That's an easy way to do it.
Wonderful. I'll get those in the description, definitely. So that's it. So you at home, thank you so much for watching this. Well, I shouldn't say watching, I should say listening. I keep forgetting this is an audio. Thank you for listening to this interview. There might be more out in the future, depending on what my future guests might want, either audio or video. But this will not be the last audio interview I do. But as I said, I just wanted to thank you for listening in. Go follow Michael, go check out his music, go give him some love as a voice actor. He's brilliant and he's one of the nicest guys I've ever spoken to. So with that being said, I'll end this interview here. Stay safe, stay happy, and thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye! And cut.